Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim, who just hopped in here. We'll give him a second. Get ready to roll here. As obviously Tim in Green Bay, I'm in Tennessee here to talk some Green Bay Packers as we get ready to face the Minnesota Vikings tomorrow in Minnesota at US Bank Stadium. Going to be a hell of a game. All right, Tim, how we doing this morning, bud? We get the diesel flowing. We have time to get the diesel flowing or no?
Yeah. I don't know. It's flowing, but I don't know if it's coursing through my system just yet. I'm still kind of,
Good morning.
Hilarious, man. Hey, it's got to hit the bloodstream. You know what I mean? Before it actually counts, right? Got to get
You
it.
can't drink it too fast. It's piping hot. Got to give it time, right?
Exactly. Man, we got a herd in here this morning. Appreciate everybody joining us as we get ready to talk Packers Vikings here on this glorious December 28th. I know we got 3 NFL games today. Down here in Tennessee, it's supposed to be 63 degrees. Pretty wild to think about. So we're going to have us an awesome day down here. Hopefully everybody's having a good morning. Shout out to Miss Jerry Weiss Corbley for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate you, Jerry. Thank you for supporting the show here and always being a blessing to us and the boys here. And obviously, man, the chat is just absolutely lit up. We got a bunch of people in here following him. And these Saturday morning shows are nice, Tim. We try to do them just late enough for people can sleep in a touch. If you're like me, you usually get up at 6:30 in the morning, local time. It's nice to sleep in for a couple hours and grab a cup of coffee and talk a little ball. So let's start off with this, man. Let's start off with our Patreon group and Joshua Dodge. Shout out to him. I've got it zoomed in because if we go and make it wide, it's going to be harder to see. But he's been keeping up with all of the interceptions this year for us. And basically what he's doing is going through, watching Chalk Talk, and getting the play description of each interception that we forced. All right. So we want to do this because we mentioned as soon as we switched to Jeff Hafley as defensive coordinator, and really even before then, we had mentioned why I'm not a big fan of man coverage. It's got its place, don't get me wrong, but there's some negatives to man coverage. It makes you a little bit vulnerable to the run, obviously, with the DBs having their back turned to the ball most of the time. And obviously in zone coverage, your eyes are on the ball constantly. You do your thing, Tim. Appreciate you, buddy. Eyes on the ball too in zone coverage, but also when you're playing man coverage, typically it's a cover one look, which makes you vulnerable to one-on-one matchups unless you're funneling the wide receiver or the tight end or the running back towards your help, right? So it's really that one-on-one matchup that many teams are looking to grab a hold of, whether you're playing zone or man. And the other thing is, like, with your eyes on the ball, you're going to pick the ball off more often. And listen, I didn't just think of this one day and go, hey, you know what? It makes sense that zone would lead to more interceptions. I've been studying this for a while, and everyone knows, whether you're a coach, a player, what have you, it's easier to pick the ball off when you're playing zone. Now, listen, zone has its weaknesses too. You can play press principle with zone, but it puts you in a very, very vulnerable spot if you've got a veteran quarterback that can read the field and boundary safeties and know exactly what defense you're in pre-snap. He knows once he beats that bump, I'm going to have wide open space here. And then typically you can make a move on the other zone defender who's probably keying in on another principle, another aspect of that specific zone defense. But it always leads to more interceptions. So Joshua Dodge has been tracking this for us, and appreciate him. And as you scroll down here, he's got every single game that we've gotten the interception, even the games we didn't. He's kind of specified that too, right? So basically what we've got, I don't know why that pulled up, is the grand tally. The total here is zone coverage. We now have 12 interceptions. This is after the Saints game where Zane Anderson got his interception in that 55 front free spur cover 6 half invert, right? So we're now up to 12 interceptions in zone defense and 3 interceptions in man coverage. And people probably saying, Clayton, why does that matter? Why are you tracking this? Because I wanted to prove a point that this is why you should not be team man coverage. Like, it's such a lazy way to fan. It's such a lazy way to, lack of a better word, bitch and moan about a defense. We need more man coverage. We need to be more aggressive. How many times have we heard that, right? We need to be more aggressive with man coverage. Man coverage doesn't equal more aggressive. It just doesn't, right? Now, if you go zero man, obviously you're blitzing the quarterback, but we've been more effective at just rushing forward with simulated pressure as opposed to bringing blitzes. So you want to be aggressive. When I think of an aggressive defense, Tim, I think of sacks, right, pressures, and I think of picks. That's what I think of an aggressive defense. And that's not what man coverage does. It's not. So man coverage can be very effective if a team has one target that they're trying to isolate at all times. Like, think about when we had Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. It was constantly ISO game. It was let's get Devontae Adams out in space and let him win a one-on-one matchup. If you bracket cover or double team a
There
player,
is no one-on-one. Yeah.
you can take them away, and now your other guys have to win their one-on-one matchups. Well, listen, like, let's just take our opponent this week, for example, the Minnesota Vikings. If you try to double Justin Jefferson, right, what happens? Then you've got Jordan Addison running free. If you try to double Jordan Addison, then what happens? You've got Justin Jefferson running free, right, in a one-on-one matchup in man coverage.
So you double nobody and you play zone.
And here's the thing, too. You could play double bracket with a four-man rush, meaning you're going to double both their top two receivers. Well, guess what? They got Hawkinson at tight end.
Yep.
Guess what? They've got Aaron Jones coming out of the backfield, right? So if you get a team that's got more than one weapon on offense, I'm telling you, even just two solid weapons on offense, that even going to double bracket forces you to bring only a four-man rush, and it also forces you to not have at least a too-high look. And like the number one defense we run in Green Bay is that cover three zone. And really what that equates to is you've got three deep, right? And that deters offenses from taking shots. Again, what's the name of the game? Control the explosive plays, passing plays at 20 yards or more, running plays at 10 yards or more. So go ahead, Tim. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but that's kind of why we've been tracking this, and it's pretty damn cool to see that we're one of the best teams at taking the ball away, and obviously zone coverage has been the key to it.
Yeah, and that's what, like you said, aggressive football is from a defensive perspective. Think rallying to the ball carrier. Like you said, pressure pick, covered sack. We talk about that all the time. Maintain your edges, keep that quarterback in the well and get after it. And this Hafley scheme, man, is something else to think we flipped this defense in one season. Right. It's really fun to watch.
It is, man. It's been nothing but a blessing to watch, and Hafley never being satisfied. And early on, when there were so many people that was just like, this sucks, the pass rush sucks, that we were supposed to get a more aggressive defense. The reason that fans thought we were going to get a more aggressive defense is because media members said we were getting this mostly man coverage. Remember when they kept
press man? No, not just man, but press man, right? That was the big narrative. We're going to play a lot of press man.
And remember, it was the exotic looks, the exotic blitzes that he brings. There was articles written everywhere, and I was going, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Like
those exotic stunts.
Yeah, like.
Never seen those before. Never seen a D lineman stun or twist before.
And maybe they meant exotic looks. That's what you're getting. But these exotic blitzes, guys, a blitz is when you bring at least 5 rushers. And again, we're leading. We're in the top 3 last I heard in pressure percentage on just bringing 4 rushers. We do blitz from time to time, but we blitz like we're playing the Vikings, who probably blitz more than anybody in the league. And we're a defense that blitzes. We're probably bottom 5 in blitzes, right? So there's a difference between mugging the line of scrimmage, showing blitz, and then running a fire zone, right? And actually bringing five or more rushers. We will do it from time to time, and it has its place. Don't get me wrong. But shout out to Bucks Rays Bolts. Been a member for 1 month. Appreciate you supporting the channel here, buddy. He says, "Good morning, everyone. As a Bucks fan, rooted Packers. Good deal, man. Hey,
I love it.
Listen, the Bucks, they've got a shot here, man. And Baker Mayfield has showed he can put 40 on the board, 50 on the board, if I remember correctly. That team could get hot at any minute, man.
And Baker's a baller, man.
Yeah, Tim
He
pointed out.
catches a lot of hate, but I tell you, he's a baller.
Yeah. And Tim pointed out before, guy, like, hey, when we see that Buccaneers logo as a potential playoff matchup, that brings back bad memories, man. It really does.
We have Tampa Bay PTSD for sure.
Appreciate you supporting the show there, buddy, and good luck to your Bucks unless they're playing the Packers, which that goes without saying, I know. So, Chase Green in the house is Clayton. How can we attack the bad guards of the Vikings? Will we run pick stunts and double mug? That would be the way I would do it. But the top priority, in my opinion, Chase, is wide nine looks. Come out in a wide nine look to isolate the tackles. That way they can't. It's going to take the guards and the center working together. What you're wanting is there's going to be a double team with a guard in the center. That's going to happen, right? But you want to be able to manipulate the middle of that defense where you've got at least one-on-one matchup. And the goal should be to take your best interior pass rusher and match them up with that one-on-one matchup. Now, it's easier said than done because what KOC is going to do in Minnesota is he's going to look at the tape and know you're going to try to do that, and he's going to try to run towards that double team and keep you out of those specific looks. Now, another thing that comes to mind just right off the bat is running a TE stunt, right? Let me give you an example. If you put Kenny Clark in a one tech on one side of the field, right, meaning he's in between the center and the guard, that center and that guard are going to double team him. And then on the opposite of him in the three tech, have them run a TE stunt where he rushes the outside shoulder of the guard into the tackle, and then have Rashawn Gary, Kingsley Enagbare, or Brenton Cox Jr., LVN loop inside off of that. That would be a way you could exploit it. But the problem with that is everyone has to be sound in their pass rush to make sure you don't leave a huge lane for Sam Darnold to, first of all, you got to focus on your passing lanes because he will dink and dunk underneath, although they do have the shot plays as well. But you got to be disciplined in your pass lanes, meaning you got to get your hands up in those throwing lanes, right? Every pass rush, many people don't know this, is synced up with the secondary on the backside. That's what we mean by complementary football is your front four rush or five, however many you're bringing, has got to maximize the opportunity of the coverage on the backside, meaning we know where the weak spot is in our coverage before we call it, right? There's a weak spot in every single coverage that's called. So you want to make sure that you're maximizing taking away the throwing lanes in towards the weak spot of those negatives on the backside, if that makes sense. So that's one aspect. Also, the running game. If we know Aaron Jones is a slasher, if you get crazy running TE picks and TT twists and picks and pick stunts and all that, what's going to happen is he's going to be able to gas you for explosives in the running game because you're going to get guys too far outside the rush lane. But the thing that stood out to me the most here recently is our guys have become really, really disciplined in their rush lanes. And that's why you've seen a dip in the productivity in the pass rush this year, but it's also why you've seen the running game begin to get stopped for the first time in a long time, Tim.
Yeah, I think it's probably because of Coach Reb screaming.
Right.
Probably loading up on cough drops, screaming about maintaining your rush integrity, and it's paying off, man. We talk a lot about Jeff Hafley. It's also a testament to the staff that he brought in here, this team that we have between Coach Ogabasi and Rebrovich and Coach Camp and Coach Ansley in the secondary. I think has done a great job with
he really has,
with our DBs. So really, it's just a testament to this staff as a whole.
Yeah, and when you mention the double mug, Chase, it's huge. And what we mean by double mug, guys, is when some people call it double barrel. Some people, I think LaFleur and our coaching staff refer to it as coffee house. It's where you put your two inside linebackers in the A gap. So you've got two wide nines. Typically when you do that double A gap mug, you got two wide nines, and then you got two five techs, meaning you're going to play be the three techs, three techs. You're playing the outside shoulder of the guards, and then you got those backers in there. And what that does is that forces the offensive line to have to be ready for one-on-one matchups. And then what you'll do is you'll drop guys out typically on the defensive end. So one of the goals should be with that double A gap mug or that double barrel coffee house, whatever you want to call it, is everybody's mugging the line and you're going to have the defensive end drop into coverage, right? We've seen 55 drop. They love doing it with Kingsley Enagbare. That's been how many times have we shown on Chalk Talk 55 drop? That's what we're talking about is you're actually dropping you're dropping Kingsley Enagbare. You're showing rush on the edge and dropping him into coverage. The goal there is to get the tackle thinking about having to block him. One kick step outside, now he's in coverage. He's late to get back over and help. And the pressure is coming from somewhere else with a four-man rush. So typically what will happen when we mug the A gap, it's one of three things. Either both backers are just sugaring and they'll drop into coverage and you just bring your normal four-man rush with the defensive line. That's one aspect. Or you'll have a mock fire with a 55 drop or whichever defensive end dropping into coverage. That's another option. Or you'll have a will fire with the mock dropping into coverage and then the defensive end dropping out. So it's still a four-man rush, but what you're doing is you're forcing the offensive line to have to respect all six of those defenders who are on the line of scrimmage. And our backers are doing a hell of a job getting back and covering. Quay does that really well when he's healthy. I know he's out this game. He's got the athleticism to mug the A or B gap and then get back down the seam on your Tampa 2 calls or your Tampa 2 matches. And then the same thing with Edgerrin Cooper. He's just a physical freak. He's able to mug that gap and still get back, although most of the time when we've got Edgerrin Cooper up there and we want to rush him, what he'll typically do is go first. And this has been really interesting. Like he'll go first in what I'll call like either a mock T stunt or a mock or a will T stunt. And some people call those pick stunts. I like to specify which, if somebody says it's a pick stunt, that doesn't tell me anything other than there's a stunt in the middle. I want to know specifically which position. Was it on the strong side of the formation with the backer? Was it the weak side of the formation? Which tackle was running the stunt with him? But they'll bring Edgerrin Cooper, right? They'll fire him off, and he will go in first. There he is. He'll hit the either the guard or the center and take on the double team, and then the D tackle will loop around, looking to free up and also protect that rush lane on his way in. And Cooper ends up beating the double team for the sack. It's wild. Like we talked early, Tim, about Quay Walker might be that Micah Parsons type. Micah Parsons' first year in the league. Edgerrin Cooper seems exactly to me. If you watch Micah Parsons his rookie year and you watch what Edgerrin Cooper's doing, it looks like a freaking mirror. The only difference is Micah Parsons, the way I remember it, was on the field all the time. Yep. And Edgerrin Cooper, they've kind of tapered his snaps. And it's obviously increasing as the year goes on.
Yeah, especially without Quay, right? I think we're going to see a little bit more of him kind of stepping into that role, especially against the Vikings, using that athleticism and that speed and that FBI that he has. I like when he does like you'll see Hafley send him kind of on it's like he sugars the sugar and then it is a blitz, like he'll creep up on that line and then he'll shade back and allow that quarterback to read him as dropping back. And then as soon as the ball snap, he's coming. And then you'll do it the opposite way, right? He'll show blitz, breathe down that line, and then he's out, right? We see those Tampa 2 looks, and it's just really fun to watch him play football. I'm sad I haven't gotten to see much of him and Quay together out there.
Yeah, me too.
Fingers crossed that we're still going to get that. That would honestly be the dream for me. It'd be Eric Wilson, Quay Walker, and Edge Cooper out there would be a good look for me. But hey, man, it's exciting to have a player of this caliber. We were excited on draft day when Goody pulled the trigger and made that pick, and he looks like a genius for it, despite the injuries that Coop's been dealing with, off and on, even in training camp going all the way up through the season. He's starting to get that availability that we want and need from him, and I fully anticipate the snap count's going to continue to go up for him going forward.
Yeah. I do too, man. And Carl K., thank you, buddy, for the compliment there, man. I'm glad that it made sense. Sometimes it's hard to explain. And again, we've got podcast listeners, so I really try to take that in consideration. How can I explain this where they can see the visualization? But, again, what you mentioned too, another thing that they do is that nickel fire. You've seen the strip sack with Keyshawn Nixon. Matter of fact, we got one of those against Minnesota last time we played them. Remember that? So yep. Keyshawn Nixon hit on a strip sack in that game. So what they'll do there is the same look, right? You're in a nickel set, nickel 4-2-5, and you'll have Keyshawn in the slot, and they love to run those nasty splits just like we do. One of the things that's an advantage for a defense sometimes in the nasty split, or a weakness from the offensive perspective, is you got everybody so tightly condensed that nickel is basically on the defensive line, right? So if he's on the defensive line and you're showing a double A-gap mug, and then what you do is you end up firing, one of the four ends up being the nickel, right? And you drop the D in on that side to take away that hot read to the slot or to the Y if they're going with a tray look, that can create some serious problems too. Let's see. Chris Ann in the chat says, I was curious, so I watched a Vikings YouTube show last night. Overconfidence is an understatement. They are a crude people. Go back, go. That's what we want right there, Chris. We want them to think that the Packers have zero shot at this game. Again, we've shown the predictions. Out of 10 people on NFL Network, 9 of them picked the Vikings. Once the injury report dropped, now the Packers are 1.5-point underdogs. That all sounds great to me. Now, again, with the Vegas line, 1.5-point underdog on the road, you give the home team typically 3 points. So that would suggest that the matchup is actually slightly tilted in Green Bay's favor at 1.5 points. That's why before, when the Packers were 1.5-point favorites, I was going, man, that's closer to like a 3 or a 4-point favorite. So just keep that in mind too. But again, man, I love that, Tim. I love being the underdog, and the Packers have been the underdog ever since Aaron left. That's what it's been, and I just want to hold on to that as long as we can. I really do, man.
Absolutely, and I'm sure like Chris Ed makes a great point. Vikings fans are never short on overconfidence, and I agree with the crude people statement as well. Can't stand Vikings fans. But I think when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings football team, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell's got his guys ready and focused. And I don't think the Vikings are overconfident and taking us for granted. I really don't, especially not even if you just look at the last time these two teams played. Like, we did not lay down, we did not go away, and we fought till the very end. So I think they're fully anticipating a Packer team getting off that bus ready to smash some heads. So should be a great game tomorrow.
It's a great comment here from Ron. I'm glad he brought it up. Green Bay in zone coverage, allowing a 93.8 passer rating when targeting their linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties combined. You see how when they have to throw in 2 or 3 different things into one to make it sound like something's better than it is? In contrast, they've given up a 61.1 passer rating in man coverage. So you see that, and you read that article, and I'm sure that's what it was. It would suggest, man coverage is better, right? Conveniently left out the 12 interceptions in zone coverage and only 3. You ask any coach on the face of God's green earth, which would you rather have? A lower passer rating when targeted, or, 9 more interceptions? Which would you rather have?
Turnovers.
And also conveniently left out of that is the run. Where's the run defense numbers? Throw those in there too. Let's see what the run D has done, right? Because we've seen it all year long on Chalk Talk. And I got to be real. Like, I was going into the season, I'm going to keep an open mind because I've always felt like zone is the way to go. Maybe man is it. Let's see. And every time somebody's gashing us with a big play, it's – how many times you heard me say on Chalk Talk, especially last year, that damn man coverage, man.
Yep.
Just getting cooked in man coverage. So, again,
that's probably the biggest contrast between Barry and Hafley, right?
Right.
Is that Joe Barry had us in, kind of that his version of quarters at times, and we saw guys defending blades of grass, but then we also saw him mix in man a lot more than Jeff Hafley is doing. So, and I think when Haf does call the man sets, he has good timing with it. He has good, just like when he's dialing up blitzes. You never too much of one thing. You don't want to get predictable, and keep that offense guessing. And I just think that's the biggest difference we have with our new coordinator.
Yeah, Ron Sample goes on to say, just read about the Green Bay defense. Little contrast from what we were thinking. Maybe run defense makes up the difference. That, and again, the turnovers is huge. It's absolutely huge. So, and that's the other thing too, like rallying to the football. We've done pretty good at punching the ball out, right, and causing fumbles as well. I don't know where we rank there, but it seems like we've been more aware of that this year under Hafley. If a guy's playing man coverage, his back's to the play. The play could have been thrown to the opposite side of the field, and he's still covering his guy, and his guy is kind of walking his route, what they call walking the route out. You're taking your guy to the play without even touching him. As we're in zone, you're focused on the ball and your work. Okay, the ball goes over there. You're immediately rallying to the football. It's much more difficult to rally to the football in that regard, too. I'd like to see the yak yardage, too, with man coverage as opposed to zone. I bet it's it's quite the difference as well. But, again, there's pros and cons to each defense. You got to key in on what the priority is. And again, the most important aspect of every game is turnover differential, right? Turnover differential is what sways the pendulum the most in any specific game. And this first matchup with the Minnesota Vikings, we lost the turnover differential 4-3, and we ended up losing the game by 2 points. So imagine if we had won the turnover differential 4-3. You think we would have gotten another field goal somehow, some way? Oh, by the way, we missed 2 field goals in that game too. So that's something that when I say fixed, I don't mean McManus is going to be 100%. Listen, guys, I'm going to say the bad part out loud right now. He's due to miss a field goal or two. And when it happens, let's don't act like the world is ending, okay? Because where it sits right now, I guarantee you he's top 5 in field goal percentage this year. I'm going to go look it up because he's only missed 1 field goal. I want to say he's like 16 of 17 or something like on field goals. So
we giving away free kicker talk again, man?
Yeah,
you gotta get them super chats for kicker talk.
It's just like Emilio and his free advertising, man. We gotta stop doing it. Gotta stop doing this. I'm gonna go pull up the kicker statistics. I want to see where McManus ranks. But if you want to hit on something else here in the chat, Tim, anything at all? Look, AFAM says Clayton, no. I just want to know, okay, and then we'll keep this party moving. But continue here with the chat if you want to, Tim. I'm gonna go look that up real quick. It won't take a second, I'm sure. So.
I just think when it comes to, like you're saying with McManus, I'm kind of with Biz right here. We're not missing 2 crucial field goals this time inside that dome. I love it. And, I just like the attitude of, it's happened. We've had a game winner from him. His welcome to Green Bay game. We'll never forget that. But this is a different team right now. And we're playing football that is not going to require us to lean on the kicking game as much. I'm not saying we don't need McManus because we clearly do, but I like getting tutters, and I like being in a situation where, yeah, maybe he does miss one. So what? It's not going to ruin the game for us if we're putting touchdowns on the board on offense and we're creating turnovers on defense. That's how we win ball games. But I think you're right. I mean, you look at the stats, look at the year Justin Tucker's had, for crying out loud. I mean, The guy, arguably the best kicker in the NFL, and he's kicking like a rookie this year. So right. Anybody can get the yips at any time. So there is some logic to it. Hey, Chris N, super chat. There it goes. All right, we're good. $1 a minute. Two more minutes of kicker talk. Let's go.
Here we go. Asking you shall receive, Chris. Appreciate the super chat, sir. All right, so here it is, guys. Keep in mind the only kicker in the league that's made 100% of his kick, right, is Jude Mikatamny. I hope I'm saying that right. Mikatamny. He's only attempted 1 field goal and he hit it. All right. So throw that one out, obviously. First in the league, we should say, Nick Folk has 22 attempts and he's made 21. He's sitting at 95.5% field goal percentage, right? Guess who number 2 is, Tim? Brandon McManus. All right. He's sitting at 94.1. He has hit 16 of 17 and he has a long of 55. So again, when you look at the field goal percentage, the more kicks, let's say he were to have kicked 34 kicks, right? And he missed 2. He and Nick Folk are going to be right there together. I mean, look at the guys who have kicked that many kicks and are right there with him, like Cameron Dicker for the LA Chargers. He's kicked 34 times, right? So that's a good comparison there. And he has missed 2 out of 33. He's legit a top 3 kicker, Brandon McManus is. So
for sure.
You go, again, you go back to this Minnesota game, turnover differential. We're playing better in that regard with Jordan protecting the football better. Missed field goals, that's gotten fixed. Does it mean he would have hit both of those field goals that he missed? Probably not, Tim. I mean, there's a chance he's going to miss one of them, right? But and it looks like Minnesota, I don't see anywhere on my notes where Minnesota missed a field goal. They may have, but if he hits one of those 2 field goals, we win that game. That's another way of looking at it, right? And again, the game gets called from that point on much different. So a lot of different things can happen. I'm not saying it's just like, hey, that was the only thing, but it was definitely a factor. And we talked about that in the moment as well. Like, hey, look, you can't just go, well, we lost by 2 points. Therefore, if we'd hit one field goal, we would have won. The game plays out much different. I got you. But you button up the turnover differential. If we can come out and win this turnover differential this game, you can control the explosives with that hardcore wide receiving core. And then, of course, the defensive penalties too, Tim. 4 defensive penalties on one drive that led to a touchdown for Minnesota. Like all those things everything that could have gone wrong for the Packers went wrong for the Packers. Now, what's stacked against us this game? You got 3 key injuries on defense. That's going to play a role. And when you look at that, and everyone who's jumping on this over, and you guys know, I was almost like, man, why would we not take the under? I'm trying to dissect it, like reverse engineer it. And you look at it and you go, well, we are missing 3 starters. It is being played inside, right? Perfect conditions. Probably will be smarter to take the over. It's just something just grabbed my attention with that under. Like, I feel like I would probably lean toward that under, especially if it continues to go up because all the money's going on the over, So,
Right.
Anything else you want to hit on here with the kicker talk? That's awesome, though, man. You got to listen. Re-sign that dude. Let's re-sign that guy, man. Let's get him on a 3-year deal.
Yep.
And one that we can get out of in 2 years in case he does go cold. You can get out from under it, but give me a 3-year deal for Brandon McManus. Let's put this kicker talk behind us. Unless, of course, someone like Chris Ian throws up a super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. So, all right, there's your kicker talk segment for the morning. Let's move it along here, and let's jump into the I need to put a tweet out on that kicker talk for sure, man. Probably should have pulled that back up and did that real quick. I may do that here in a second while we're live on the air. Live tweeting during the show is not a good idea, though. Let's go to the PFF preview. We kind of hit on it a little bit yesterday as we wrap the show up. And let's see what sticks out to us. Now, the line is holding steady like we talked about with Minnesota being 1.5-point favorites. PFF actually has it further in Minnesota's favor at 2.2-point favorites. So keep that in mind. They actually think that Minnesota should be 2-point favorites as opposed to 1. We kind of talked about the money and everything already. We won't dive too much into that. I just like to kind of keep our finger on the pulse here with the gambling aspect. When you look at the PFF grades for the players who are going to be out for each team, I wish we could zoom in a little bit more here. That's about the best I can do. Jair Alexander, obviously out. He's the highest graded player that the Packers are going to be missing, a 75.2. Andre Dillard is grading out a 72.7, but we know those are very, very limited snaps for Andre Dillard. Christian Watson is questionable. He's now up to a 70.6, Tim. Solid year there for Christian Watson. Quay Walker out with the leg injury, 57.5 is his PFF grade. And, of course, Marshawn Lloyd with the torso injury. He's still on the NFIR, if I understood correctly. 53.3 is his PFF grade.
Torso, that's the appendicitis, though, right?
Right, yeah,
That's
sure.
not like a broken rib or, something crazy like that. He's probably still just recovering, I would think, from that surgery. Man, it would be great to see him on the field at some point, but I think we might be waiting until next year for that.
Yeah, it does feel that way for sure. Now, maybe you get him back for the playoffs, but I'll tell you, man, Emmanuel Wilson grading out as like the 8th or 9th best running back in the league.
Yeah, you don't take the ball out of his hands in the postseason.
And that's why you just, hey, let's don't get crazy with Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is
the way Chris Brooks has been playing lately too, right?
he's grading out over a 70. Yeah. So just a solid back for sure. Let's go to the Vikings side. Christian Darrisaw. So he is on IR. So they are missing Christian Darrisaw. I want to say they made a move for a tackle. I could be wrong. I think they traded for a tackle as soon as he went on IR and kind of button that up. We'll hit on that here in a second. Foster Moreau with cornerback with a leg injury. He's out. He graded out a 63.1. And then whoever this is, Tyamani, I think I'm saying that right. Defensive lineman with the leg injury. He's on IR with a 61.2 was his PFF grade. So let's just jump into the lineups here. Go ahead and throw any of those you got marked up on the screen, Tim. We'll hit them in real time, bro. Any of those chats at all. We'll go full screen with this as we do it.
Oh, cool. Let's see.
I see you marking them. I just didn't want to move off the topic and then, we miss them. So you just keep them firing there as they come in, man. Just cut me off and we'll hit them. We'll hit on them.
Shout out to Mart84. Want to thank PTA. I was one of the more miserable fans, always complaining. PTA gave me a way more positive view on the whole team. Go Pack Go. And thanks from Germany, all the way from Deutschland. Look at that. Thanks, Mart.
Yeah, appreciate the kind words there, man. Thanks for tuning in. We got to get the map going. Me and Emilio and Tim have talked about this a lot. We're going to get an interactive map where we can put a pin everywhere people are watching the show from. We got people from all over. I mean, I'm talking about China, Japan. We've got people, obviously, in Canada. We got people in South America, obviously Germany.
You got Omer in France.
Yeah. Omer holding it down in France, usually pissed off about something, but he's holding it down in France. That's all that matters, right? But yeah, hey, thank you so much. And again, it's not that any of us don't complain or get mad. Like I've talked about, you watch me watch a game live, you think I'm a different person. But it's just understanding what happened and why did it happen, as opposed to just let's be overly emotional and pretend like something happened that actually didn't. Yep. That's the stuff that drives me crazy. So, all right, let's look at this Vikings offense, man. They are stout, Tim. Obviously, Justin Jefferson, one of the best in the business at 89.9 at wide receiver. Opposite him is Jordan Addison at a 74.2. He's graded out as the 34th best receiver. And then you got Naylor there in the slot, 55.9. So now keep in mind, they've got him listed as a slot, but KOC likes to move Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison around where they'll end up in the slot. What we mean by that is if at any point either of those guys can play what we refer to as F receiver in Matt LaFleur's offense, you can motion those dudes in, and next thing you know, they're lined up in the slot. And if you're in man coverage, boy, watch out. Hold on to your britches, right? It's about to get real because you got a lot of movement going on. Here's the offensive lineman that I was thinking of, Tim.
Here's a guy.
I want to say they traded for Cam Robinson. I'm almost positive they traded for him. But listen, 64.1 stepping in for an injured, one of the best in the game. That's a pretty solid performance in my opinion. Anytime you're hovering around 65, you're kind of doing your job. You may not be doing it great, but you're not a true liability to the team. So Cam Robinson at left tackle was filling in for Darisaw. Obviously, they still got O'Neal at right tackle, one of the best in the business. Brian O'Neal grading out at 81.9. That's the second highest grade of his career as it sits right now. So they're solid at tackle, although Cam Robinson's going to get tested. And this is what I can't remember who it was that mentioned it just a second ago, but their guards are weak. You've got Blake Brandel at left guard. He's a 57.4. And again, this is if PFF has this up to date. We're just going to assume they do. And then you got Dalton Reisner at right guard at a 63.9. Not horrible, but again, definitely one of the weaker spots on this offensive line. They got Bradbury at center and Garrett Bradbury grading out as a 63.2. That's one of those guys that's just been solid his whole career. I mean, like, not great, not even really very good, just kind of above average, solid. 61.4, 62 or 60.2, 67.5, 60.9, and a 63.2. So the offensive line here, Tim, I don't look at their offensive line and go, oh yeah, we're going to eat. Maybe I'm wrong. I think they're going to come ready to protect Sam Darnold. You just got to make sure you play fundamentally sound here.
Absolutely. They're stout. They are stout up front and nothing to be intimidated by, but yeah, we've got to play mistake-free football against this Vikings offense.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Definitely. All right. Sam Darnold, again, 86.0, the sixth highest graded quarterback in the league. One of these don't belong here. Right. Look at these grades. 64.7, 63.6, 58.4, 54.7, 63.0, 66.0, 86.0. When we talk about a quarterback-friendly offense, we're always mentioning Kyle Shanahan's tree, Sean McVay's tree. In this case, it's KOC specifically, Kevin O'Connell. Boy, oh boy, did he bring the best out of Sam Darnold. One of two things are going to happen next year, Tim. Either Sam Darnold is going to be signed to a 2-year extension, and that's going to bridge the gap to J.J. McCarthy, or Sam Darnold is going to make absolute bank in free agency if he hits the market. This type of performance right here, you're talking about MVP type numbers this year. Like, he is just absolutely blown up this year. If I was a Vikings fan, Tim, I'd look at this and go, man, I would want Sam Darnold back for a couple of years to show J.J. McCarthy firsthand for a couple of years. Here's how you're supposed to play this quarterback position within this offense. It's just amazing how someone can go from a different offense looking like absolute cheeks into one and looking like an MVP candidate. It's wild.
Yeah, man. I had a feeling when McCarthy went down, Darnold stepping into that role, I said it all along that this might be bad news for Packer fans. And it's proven that way. It's been bad news for the NFC this year. He is, lights out. You're right. Look at the career grades and just the gigantic strides once he's in the right system. And it's a guy that will make mistakes, but not very often. You've really got to be – you have to be on point when you're facing a quarterback like this. And I would agree when you look at the numbers, man, there would be a legit gripe for Vikings fans to say that they may have a an MVP candidate, as quarterback. But I just think, this is probably Josh Allen's year when it comes to the MVP conversation. But yeah, we got to take this guy seriously, and this defense has got to be aware of all aspects of what he's bringing to the table, because he is, kind of like an average looking quarterback on the surface, but he's dynamic in the pass game and in the run game.
Yeah. AFAM says the dome helps too for the California guy. That's a great point. Playing in New York for so long up in that bad weather. That's a great point, AFAM. Ron Samble says projected 3-year, $41 million per year with $70 million guaranteed. And this is what I mean by the 2-year deal. Think of it this way. If you sign him to, let's say you give him that money, right? Let's say you give him $70 million guaranteed over 3 years, right? Fully guaranteed, averaging $41 million per. You give him that contract, you can get out of it after the 3rd year, which means you're only going to pay him $35 million per year for the 2 years he was here, because that's the true guarantee. That's how that works. You could also give him that 3-year deal with 2 voidable years tacked on, spread that cap hit out. And then after 2 years, if you're ready to move on to J.J. McCarthy, you cut bait with Sam Darnold, absorb the cap hit because you got J.J. McCarthy on that rookie deal. Like, that's why this is doable. People see that number go, the Vikings can't do that. Yes, they can. Watch. Watch them do it. Now, the question is, are they going to be overly impressed with J.J. McCarthy where they go, no, we don't need to do that. We're ready to move on to J.J. McCarthy. That's a real thing too, right? I'm not comparing J.J. McCarthy to Pat Mahomes. They are 2 totally different quarterbacks. Stylistically, there's nothing that suggests J.J. McCarthy is going to be on the level of someone like a Pat Mahomes. But you guys remember, I think it was Alex Smith was an MVP candidate, right? The Pat Mahomes' rookie year. And everybody was like, oh, boy, they're going to have to keep, they're going to have to keep Alex Smith. He was solid. And they just let his butt go. And Pat Mahomes steps right in and takes off, right? That could be a realistic thing, too. They've done a good job. One thing I will say about Minnesota's front office, Tim, they've done one hell of a job. And when they recognize a hole, they'll go fill it real quick.
Yep.
Right? So you gotta tip your cap to that. They did it with Aaron Jones, right? They really did.
Yeah,
so,
that's why that happened so quickly, right? Quick and decisive.
Yeah. And again, though, to defend Goody here a minute, if you look at Aaron Jones's numbers, 2022, 86.1, 2023, 80.9, this year, 74.8. You can't see it because of the comment, my bad. Thank you for looking up that info, Ron. You're the man. So he's declined, according to PFF, the last 3 years. Now, he's still averaging over 4 yards a carry. He's still effective. Don't get me wrong. He's a stud still. But you're seeing that decline, and you know how Goody operates, man. Get rid of him 1 year before before you need to, right? You'd rather cut bait 1 year too early than 1 year too late, I think is the way everybody says it. So Aaron Jones. Now here's the other factor. TJ Hawkinson, the guy that didn't they pick him up from Detroit? Am I thinking right, Tim? They traded
I believe so. Yeah.
They ended up getting him from Detroit, and everybody rolled their eyes, man. He's been solid. 2022, 73.2, 2023, 78.8, 2024, 75.5. He's the 9th highest graded tight end in the league. What's crazy is Tucker Kraft is leading him in several different tight end statistical categories. So it's pretty cool that you see our young tight end who's making, a cool 1.2 million, going to 1.5 million, I think, next year, or it might even be in the 3rd year. You're getting him pennies on the dollars for someone who's having just as much results in the passing game for sure. But TJ Hawkinson's a dog, man. You just got a lot of weapons you got to cover here. And that's why I'm like, stay the hell away from man coverage for the Lord's sake. Let's keep our eyes on the football. Let's try to make Sam Darnold make mistakes. 4-man pressure. We know he cuts us up with pressure.
Can you pull that back up for Hawkinson?
Yeah.
You're right, because we know he's a weapon in the pass game, right? Look at that run block grade. That ain't no Tuck Norris level run blocking. So they're not using TJ Hawkinson for anything more than maybe the occasional chip or something, right? And he's running a route, so we've got to account for him out there.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, for those of you listening on the pod, that's going to do it for hour 1. We will see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.